7-year-old boy shows up for job interview and says his dad is in the hospital. He needs the work. Oliver Thompson trembled as he clutched a crumpled paper in his small hands. At 7 years old, he had made the most important decision of his young life, and now he stood there in front of the reception desk of the most important company in Denver. It all started when he saw the ad for an office assistant in the newspaper his mother had left on the table. His father had been hospitalized for 3 weeks, and every day Oliver heard his mother, Jennifer, crying on the phone with her aunts, talking about bills she couldn't pay. "Good morning. I'm here for the job interview," Oliver said to the receptionist, who looked down and could barely see him over the high counter. "What do you mean, sweetheart? Where are your parents?" asked Mrs. Peterson, the 55-year-old receptionist who had worked there for over a decade. "My dad's in the hospital and my mom's at work. I need this job," Oliver replied with a seriousness that didn't match his age. The woman didn't know what to do. In all her years working there, nothing like this had ever happened. The boy was wearing a carefully ironed plaid shirt, dark pants, and shoes that, though worn, were clean and neatly tied. "Sweetheart, you're too young to work. How old are you?" "7, but I can do lots of things. I can read, write, organize papers, and even serve coffee." Oliver showed her the crumpled paper in his hands. "I brought my resume." Mrs. Peterson took the paper and nearly smiled at the colorful drawings Oliver had made to showcase his skills. There was a picture of him reading a book, another of him organizing a desk, and even one of him serving a cup of coffee. "Oliver, sweetie, who brought you here?" "No one. I came by bus. I saved my school snack money for the fare," he said, pulling a few coins from his pants pocket. Mrs. Peterson's heart ached. She knew she should call someone, maybe even child services, but something about the boy's determination made her hesitate. "Wait here just a minute, okay?" she said, picking up the phone. On the other end of the line, William Shepard, the company's owner, was in an important meeting when his secretary interrupted. "Mr. Shepard, there's a strange situation downstairs. A 7-year-old boy came in for a job interview. William, a 42-year-old man known for his strict business demeanor, almost laughed at the absurdity. "What do you mean? Where are his parents?" "That's the strange part, sir. His father's in the hospital, and he says he needs the job. Mrs. Peterson doesn't know what to do." William felt a curiosity he couldn't explain. In nearly 20 years running his construction company, he'd never faced a situation like this. "Send him up. I want to see this for myself." Mrs. Peterson returned to Oliver, who was sitting in the reception chairs, swinging his little legs that didn't reach the floor. "Oliver, the boss wants to talk to you. Are you sure you want to do this?" The boy nodded so seriously that she found herself walking him to the elevator. As they rode up to the 12th floor, Oliver clutched his makeshift cardboard folder, which held his certificates and a letter he'd asked his teacher to write. "Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us as we're just starting out. Now, back to the story." The door to William's office opened, and Oliver walked in with determined steps, even though his legs trembled slightly. The businessman sat behind a massive wooden desk, and Oliver had to strain to see him fully. "So you're the youngest candidate I've ever had here," said William, trying to keep his tone professional, but clearly surprised by the presence of such a small child in his office. "Yes, sir, my name is Oliver Thompson, and I really need this job," replied the boy, attempting to climb onto the chair that was far too big for him. William stood up and walked over to the child, helping him settle properly on the seat. That was when he noticed how the boy's clothes, though clean, were visibly old and patched. "Oliver, tell me why you're here. Where's your mother?" "My mom is working at Mrs. Johnson's house cleaning. She leaves in the morning and only comes back at night. My dad, Daniel Thompson, has been in the hospital for 3 weeks. The boy's voice began to tremble, but he steadied himself. The name Daniel Thompson sounded familiar to William, but he couldn't quite place it. "And why did you think you could work here?" Oliver opened his cardboard folder and pulled out several papers. There were drawings he had made himself showcasing his skills, a letter from his teacher, and in the middle of it all, a yellowed photograph. "My dad always said this was the best company in town. He said the people here were honest and hardworking. Oliver held up the photo. This picture is from when he worked here, a long time ago. William took the photo and felt his stomach tighten. It was a photo from the company's year-end party nearly 6 years ago, and there, smiling among the employees, was Daniel Thompson, one of the best construction technicians the company had ever had. The memory hit him like a punch to the gut. Daniel Thompson had been let go during a restructuring William had implemented to cut costs. Back then, he had dismissed 15 employees, and Daniel was one of them. William vaguely remembered the man, always dedicated, never missing work, but he had been let go because his salary was deemed too high. "Your father, Daniel Thompson? He did work here," William said, trying to mask the discomfort in his voice. "Yes, he always spoke highly of you, said you were a fair man." Oliver's eyes shone. "That's why I came here. If you were good to my dad, maybe you could help me too." William felt a weight in his chest. If Daniel had always spoken well of him, it meant the man had never told his son the truth about his dismissal. "Oliver, you said your father is in the hospital. What happened to him?" "The doctors said his heart is sick. My mom cries every night when she thinks I'm asleep." Oliver lowered his head. "I heard her on the phone saying we might have to leave our house because we can't pay the rent." "And you think a 7-year-old boy can work?" "I can, really?" Oliver perked up, pulling out his drawings. "Look, I can read really well. I'm the best in my class at school. I can organize your papers, answer the phone, even sweep the floor." William looked at the childish drawings and felt something he hadn't in years. There was something about the innocence and determination of this child that was deeply affecting him. "But you should be in school playing, being a kid, not worrying about work." "I like going to school, but I can work in the afternoon, and in the morning too, if you need me to." Oliver spoke with a heartbreaking maturity. "My teacher, Ms. Winters, wrote a letter saying, 'I'm responsible and smart.'" William took the letter, handwritten in a teacher's careful script. "To whom it may concern, Oliver Thompson is one of the most responsible and intelligent children I've ever had as a student. Despite his age, he demonstrates remarkable maturity and is always eager to help in the classroom. I believe any opportunity given to you will be taken with dedication and seriousness. Sincerely, Teacher Elizabeth Winters." "Your teacher seems to like you very much. She's really good. She's the one who helped me write my resume." Oliver showed another paper where he had tried to write his personal information in careful, childlike handwriting. William read the basic details. Name, Oliver Thompson. Age, 7 years old. Address, 45, Maple Street, Hopewell neighborhood. Things I can do: read, write, add, subtract, help around the house, take care of my mom's plants. "Oliver, tell me more about your family. How are you all doing now?" The boy hesitated for a moment, as if deciding how much he could share without making his family seem weak. "Before, when my dad was working, we had a good life. We weren't rich, but we had enough. My dad always brought something tasty for us to eat on weekends. My mom didn't have to work outside." His voice grew quieter. "But after he lost his job, everything changed." "How long has your father been out of work?" "It's been a long time. I think 2 years or more. He'd go out every day to look for a job, but always came back sad. My mom started cleaning people's houses to help out." William felt each word like a stab. He remembered now, Daniel Thompson had tried several times to be rehired. He'd sent resumes, even showed up in person at the company a few times, but William was always too busy or simply didn't want to face the awkwardness of seeing someone he'd fired again. And now, with him in the hospital? Now it's really hard. My mom works mornings at Mrs. Johnson's house and afternoons at Mrs. Wilson's. She comes home tired and sad. I try to help. I do my homework alone, heat up the food she leaves ready. Oliver paused for a moment as if remembering something important. "You know what makes me saddest? My dad used to take me to the playground every Sunday. Now he can't anymore. When I visit him at the hospital, he just looks at me with those sad eyes, like it's his fault we're going through this." William's chest tightened even more. He'd never considered the personal consequences of his business decisions. To him, Laying off 15 employees had just been numbers on a spreadsheet. And you think working here will solve your family's problems? I don't know if it'll fix everything, but I can help. If I can earn a little money, my mum won't have to work so much. Maybe we can even pay for my dad's treatment. Oliver looked straight into William's eyes. I'm not afraid of work, sir. My dad always taught me that work isn't shameful, it's dignity. The office door swung open abruptly, and William's secretary, Rebecca, entered without knocking. Mr. Shepherd, sorry to interrupt, but there's a distraught woman downstairs looking for a child. She said her son went missing and... Rebecca stopped mid-sentence when she saw Oliver sitting in the chair. It's him. He's the boy she's looking for. Oliver turned quickly, and through the open door he could hear a familiar voice coming from the hallway. It was his mother, Jennifer, clearly frantic. Oliver! Oliver! Where are you, sweetheart? The boy jumped from the chair, but didn't run to the door. Instead, he looked at William with pleading eyes. Please, sir, don't let her take me before you give me an answer. I really need this job. William stood, confused by his own emotions. He'd never been in such a complicated situation. On one side was a desperate child trying to save his family. On the other hand, there was the weight of knowing he himself had been responsible for creating this situation. Rebecca, ask his mother to come up, but gently. Tell her her son is fine. As they waited, Oliver approached William. Sir, will you give me the job? Oliver, this is very complicated. You're too young. There are laws protecting children. But I won't do anything dangerous. Just simple things like organizing papers, Oliver interrupted. And I can come after school so it won't interfere with my studies. Jennifer's voice grew closer, and soon she appeared at the office door. She was a woman of about 35, too thin, with deep dark circles and simple but clean clothes. Her eyes were red from crying. Oliver! Oh my God, my son, what are you doing here? She ran to him and hugged him tightly. I was desperate when I saw you weren't home. I thought something had happened. Mom, I'm fine. I came for a job interview, Oliver said, trying to free himself from the hug to speak with dignity. A job interview? Oliver, you're 7 years old. Jennifer looked at William, who stood by the desk watching the scene. When their eyes met, she felt something familiar but couldn't place it. You are... William Shepherd, the company owner. Your son came here looking for work, he said, still trying to process the situation. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Oliver, you can't leave the house like that. And certainly not come here to bother this man, Jennifer said, visibly embarrassed. Mom, I didn't bother him. Mr. William was very kind to me, and I explained I need to work to help pay for Dad's hospital bills, Oliver said firmly. Jennifer felt tears welling up. She knew her son had heard far more than he should have about the family's financial struggles. Oliver, that's not your responsibility. You're a child. But Mom, I can help. I'm smart. Ms. Winters said so. Oliver looked at William. Did you tell my mom I got the job? William felt at a crossroads. Looking at Jennifer, he finally recognized her fully. She was Daniel Thompson's wife, the woman who had come to the company a few times to pick up her husband when he still worked there. Mrs. Thompson, he said softly. Jennifer studied him more closely, and suddenly it clicked. Her eyes widened, and she instinctively pulled Oliver closer. You're William Shepherd, the owner of the company that... She couldn't finish the sentence. That fired your husband, yes, William completed, feeling the weight of guilt. The atmosphere in the office shifted completely. Oliver looked back and forth between them, not quite understanding what was happening, but sensing something important he didn't know. Mum, do you know each other? Jennifer took a deep breath, trying to keep her composure in front of her son. Oliver, your dad worked here for many years, and Mr. William, he had to let him go. Let him go? What do you mean? Oliver looked at William, confused. But Dad always spoke well of you. William felt even worse. Daniel had never spoken ill of him to his son, even after everything. Oliver, it's complicated. Sometimes companies need to make changes, William tried to explain. Changes? Oliver's voice rose. You took my dad's job. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. Jennifer placed a hand on her son's shoulder, trying to calm the situation. Oliver, these things happen, it's no one's fault. But Oliver wasn't convinced. He looked at William with an intensity that was impressive for a 7-year-old. If you took my dad's job, why did he never say anything bad about you? Why did he always say this was a good place to work? William didn't know how to respond. The purity of the child's question completely disarmed him. Your father, he was always a very good man, was all he managed to say. Then why didn't you give him another chance? Oliver pressed on. My dad is the best worker in the world. He was never late, never missed a day, always helped everyone. Jennifer tried to intervene. Oliver, that's enough. Let's go. We've already bothered Mr. Shepherd enough. No, Mom. Oliver pulled away from her and stood right in front of William. I want to know, if my dad was so good, why did you do this to him? The question echoed in the silent office. William found himself confronted by the brutal honesty of a child who just wanted to understand why his family was suffering. Oliver, it was a difficult decision. The company was going through some trouble, and I had to... He stopped, realizing how empty his words sounded. Trouble? What trouble? The company seems to be doing fine, Ma. Oliver glanced around the luxurious office. Big building, lots of employees. William realized there was no fooling this child. Oliver was sharper than he'd imagined. You're right. The company wasn't really in trouble. I made a mistake. Jennifer looked at him surprised. She hadn't expected such honesty from him. Are you saying it was a mistake? Oliver asked. Yes, Oliver, a very big mistake. The boy thought for a moment, then looked at his mother and back at William. So can you fix the mistake? What do you mean? If taking my dad's job was a mistake, can you give it back to him? William felt as if he'd been punched in the gut. The simplicity of the child's logic was devastating. Oliver, it's not that simple. Your father is in the hospital. But when he gets better, when he leaves the hospital, he can come back to work here. Oliver stepped closer. And until then, I can work in his place. Sweetheart, you can't work. You're too young, Jennifer said gently. But I can help somehow. Oliver was growing desperate. Mr. Shepherd, you don't understand. If we don't get money, we'll lose our house, and my dad will get even sicker from sadness. William sat on the edge of his desk, feeling the weight of the whole situation. He looked at Jennifer, who was clearly fighting back tears in front of her son. Mrs. Thompson, how are things at the hospital? How is Daniel? Not well, she whispered. The doctors say he needs surgery, but our situation, it's complicated. What kind of surgery? His heart. It's delicate and expensive. Medicaid has a long waiting list, and private care. She didn't need to finish. Oliver listened, his eyes filling with tears, but he held them back. That's why I need to work, to help pay for Dad's surgery. William looked at this determined child and felt something he hadn't in years. Maybe it was guilt, maybe admiration, maybe a mix of both. Oliver, let me ask you something. If I gave your mother a job here at the company instead of you, would that work too? Oliver looked at his mother, then back at William. Mum can work here? I can create a position for her. That way she wouldn't have to work multiple jobs. She'd have a steady paycheck and even health insurance for the family. Jennifer's eyes widened. Mr. Shepherd, I don't know what to say, but why would you do this? Because your son made me see things I didn't want to face. And because I admit I made a big mistake with your family. Oliver, however, wasn't completely satisfied. What about my dad, when he gets better? William took a deep breath. He knew he was making a decision that would change everything. When your father recovers, he'll have his job back, with the same salary as before, adjusted. Are you serious? Jennifer asked, unable to believe what she was hearing. I am, and more than that. I'll help cover the costs of his surgery. Oliver stayed silent for a moment, processing everything he'd just heard. Then, suddenly, he ran to William and hugged him. Thank you, Mr. William. Thank you for helping my family. William stiffened for a moment. He wasn't used to physical displays of affection, especially from children. But slowly, he returned the hug. Oliver, you taught me something very important today. What did I teach you? That sometimes children are braver and wiser than adults. Jennifer, who had managed to hold back her tears until then, finally began to cry. But they were tears of relief and gratitude. Mr. William, I don't know how to thank you. No need to thank me. In fact, I should be the one thanking you. Your son reminded me why I started my company. It was to help families, not destroy them. Oliver pulled away from the hug and looked seriously at William. Can I come visit sometimes to see how my mom is doing at work? Of course you can. In fact, I'm thinking of starting a program for employees' children to come here after school, a kind of tutoring program. Would you like to join? Really? Oliver's eyes lit up. Can I bring my friends too? If their parents agree, of course. Jennifer wiped her tears and stepped closer to her son. Oliver, you know you shouldn't have left the house alone, right? I was so scared. I know, Mom, but it worked out, didn't it? He smiled. And now you'll have a good job and Dad can get his surgery. It did work out. But promise me you won't leave like that without telling me again. I promise. William went to his desk and picked up a planner. Mrs. Thompson, can you start on Monday? I'll create a position in the administrative area. Do you have experience? I finished high school and always helped my husband with the household bills. I learned fast. Perfect. And as for the hospital, I'll talk to my company's health plan. Maybe we can add your husband as a retroactive dependent. Oliver tugged on William's sleeve. Mr. William, can I ask you something? Of course. Why did you change your mind? At first, when I got here, it seemed like you were going to send me away. William knelt to be at the boy's eye level. You know, Oliver, sometimes adults forget what's important. They get so worried about money and work that they forget about people. You reminded me that people matter more than anything. My dad always said that. He said money is important, but family is even more important. Your dad is a very wise man. He is, and when he gets better, I'll tell him you're a really good person. William felt tears welling in his eyes. It had been years since someone called him a good person. Oliver, would you like to come with me to visit your dad at the hospital tomorrow? Really? The boy perked up. He'll be so happy to see you. Absolutely. And I'll take the chance to talk to the doctors about the surgery. Jennifer held her son's hand. Son, I think we should go. We've already taken up too much of Mr. Williams' time. Just one more thing. Oliver ran to where he'd left his cardboard folder and grabbed something. Mr. William, even though I didn't get the job, I want to give you this. He handed over a drawing he'd made. It was a happy family in front of a big building with the word thank you written below in colorful letters. I drew this thinking about what I'd give you if you gave me the job, but now I want to give it because you're helping my whole family. William took the drawing and felt something in his heart break and mend at the same time. I'll keep this drawing forever, Oliver, and I'll put it right here on my desk to remind me every day of what really matters. Really? Really? Oliver smiled in the purest way William had ever seen a child smile. Mom, we can go now. My mission here is done. As Jennifer and Oliver headed for the door, William called out to them. How will you get home? By bus, Jennifer answered. No. Let me call my driver to take you. It's the least I can do. Mr. William, you don't have to. Yes, I do, and Jennifer, may I call you that? A station, of course. Monday at 8 in the morning, all right? I'll introduce you to HR. I'll be here. Oliver ran back and hugged William again. See you tomorrow at the hospital. See you tomorrow, champ. After they left, William stood alone in his office, looking at the drawing Oliver had given him. He walked to the window and gazed at the city below, thinking about how many families like the Thompsons were out there, struggling while businessmen like him made cold decisions based only on numbers. He picked up the phone and dialed his secretary. Rebecca, cancel all my meetings today and schedule a meeting with the entire HR team first thing Monday. Is something wrong, sir? No, Rebecca. Quite the opposite. We're making some very important changes in the company. William sat in his chair and placed Oliver's drawing right in the center of his desk, where he could see it all the time. Then he grabbed a notepad and began writing. Employee Family Support Program Ideas 1. Extended Health Coverage 2. Emergency medical assistance. 3. Educational program for employees' children. 4. Review of all layoffs from the past 5 years. 5. Open door policy for family matters. As he wrote, William remembered every word Oliver had said, every tear he'd seen in Jennifer's eyes, and how a 7-year-old boy had done what no business consultant ever could, shown him the true purpose of running a company. That night, for the first time in years, William left the office on time and spent the whole evening thinking about how he could turn his company into a place that truly cared for people. The next day, as promised, William picked up Oliver and Jennifer to go to the hospital together. Oliver was wearing his best outfit, the same plaid shirt from the day before but with different pants Jennifer had borrowed from a neighbor. "Mr. William." Oliver waved as he saw the car stop in front of their house. William got out and was shocked by what he saw. The Thompsons' house was much smaller than he'd imagined. It was a simple home in a modest neighborhood, but it was clean and well kept. There was a small garden in front, with flowers Jennifer clearly tended with care. "Sorry the house is a bit messy," Jennifer said, embarrassed. "It's lovely, Jennifer. You can tell you take care of it with so much love." Oliver tugged at William's sleeve. "Want to see my room before we go to the hospital?" "Oliver, we don't need to bother him," Jennifer tried to intervene. "It's no bother, I'd love to see it." Oliver led William to a small room at the back of the house. There was a simple single bed, a little table that served as a desk, and walls covered with drawings the boy had made. "These are all my drawings, look at this one." He pointed to a drawing on the wall. "It's my dad working. And this one is the three of us having dinner together. And this one..." William looked at the drawings and was moved. All of them showed a happy family, even in the simplest situations. There was a drawing of them watching TV together, another of Oliver and his dad playing ball, and several other everyday moments. "You draw very well, Oliver." "My dad always said I have talent. He told me one day I could be a famous artist." "Who knows, right? But first, you need to study hard." "That's true. Ms. Winters always says that too." They left the house and headed to the hospital. Along the way, Oliver was visibly anxious. "Mr. William, do you think my dad will be happy to see you?" "I hope so, Oliver. But if he's upset with me, it'll be understandable." "Why would he be upset?" Jennifer gently interjected. "Oliver, remember how we talked about how adults sometimes have complicated feelings about certain situations?" "Oh, that's right. But my dad doesn't hold grudges. He always taught me that holding on to anger is bad for your heart." William thought about the irony of the situation. Daniel Thompson had developed heart problems after his dismissal, but apparently he hadn't held on to anger. That made William feel even worse, but also more determined to make things right. When they arrived at the hospital, Oliver ran ahead through the halls. He knew the way to his father's room well. "Daddy, Daddy, I brought a special visitor for you," he shouted, even before entering the room. William and Jennifer followed close behind. When William stepped into the room, he saw Daniel Thompson lying in the hospital bed. The man was thinner than he remembered, pale, with several tubes connected to him. But when their eyes met, there was no anger in Daniel's gaze, just surprise, maybe a little awkwardness, but no anger. "William?" Daniel said softly. "What? How?" "Daddy." It was Oliver. "He went to Mr. Williams' company yesterday and got Mom a job. And Mr. Williams said, once you're better, you can go back to work there too," Oliver blurted out excitedly. Daniel looked at his son, then at his wife, and finally at William, trying to process the information. "What do you mean? Oliver, what did you do?" "I went to a job interview to help our family, and it worked, Daddy." Daniel tried to sit up in bed, but was still weak. "William, I don't know what to say. Why are you doing this?" William stepped closer to the bed. "Daniel, your son taught me something I'd forgotten. He showed me that people matter more than anything. And he made me realize I made a terrible mistake with you and your family." "What mistake?" Daniel asked, genuinely confused. "Your dismissal. It was a mistake. You were an excellent employee, and I never should have let you go." Daniel was silent for a moment, digesting the words. "William, that was hard for us." but I understood the company was going through tough times. It wasn't tough times, Daniel. I made a purely financial decision without thinking about the people, and that was wrong. Oliver climbed onto the bed beside his father. Daddy, Mr. William also said he's going to help pay for your surgery. Surgery? Daniel looked at Jennifer, worried. Daniel, the doctor said you need heart surgery. We were trying to save up, but Jennifer couldn't finish. And now you don't have to worry about it anymore, William said. I'll talk to the doctors, and we'll take care of this. Daniel felt his eyes fill with tears. William, why are you doing this after everything? Because your son showed me the kind of man I'd become, and because you deserve a second chance that I should have given you long ago. Daddy, don't cry, Oliver said, wiping a tear from his father's face with his small hand. Everything's settled now. Mum's going to work at the company. You'll have your surgery and get better. And once you're healed, you'll go back to work too. Daniel hugged his son with all the strength he had. My brave boy, what would our family do without you? Oh, Daddy, I just did what you taught me. You always said when we have a problem, we have to find a solution, not just sit around complaining. William watched the scene, deeply moved. He had never witnessed such a pure display of family love. Daniel, can I speak to the doctors now? I want to understand exactly what procedure you need. Of course. Dr. Harrison is the one handling my case. William left the room to find the doctor. He spotted Dr. Harrison in the hallway, a middle-aged man who looked tired but kind. Doctor, I'm William Shepard. I came to talk about Daniel Thompson's case. Oh, are you a relative? No, I'm a family friend. I want to understand his situation and how I can help with the treatment costs. The doctor explained that Daniel needed coronary bypass surgery, a complex but necessary procedure. The cost was high and the Medicaid waiting list was long. Doctor, I want to pay for private surgery. What's the best hospital for this procedure? Well, if cost isn't an issue, Hartwell Medical Center is the top choice for this type of surgery. I can schedule it for next week. Please do. I want him to have the best care possible. When William returned to the room, he found Oliver telling his father about his adventure at the company. And then I showed Mr. William my drawings, and he was really impressed with my resume. Daniel laughed for the first time in weeks. What resume? I made a real one, Dad, with all the things I know how to do. Daniel, William gently interrupted. I spoke with the doctor. Your surgery is scheduled for next week at Hartwell Medical Center. William, that must cost a fortune. Don't worry about that. Just focus on getting better. Oliver jumped off the bed, excited. Dad, Hartwell is the best hospital in the city. Mrs. Peterson said they work miracles there. Oliver, it's not miracles, Jennifer said softly. It's very good doctors doing their jobs. That's true, Mom, but to me it'll be like a miracle to see Dad walking again. Daniel held his son's hand. Oliver, you know I might have to stay in the hospital for a while after the surgery, right? I know, but it's okay. I'll visit you every day after school, and Mom too during her lunch break, since she'll be working close by. Close by? Daniel asked. Mr. Williams' company is just a few blocks from the hospital, Jennifer explained. It'll be very convenient. William watched the family talking and realized how Oliver had orchestrated everything without even realizing it. The boy had not only solved the family's immediate problem, but had created a long-term solution. Oliver, can I ask you something? William said. Of course. How did you know where my company was? Oh, that was easy. My dad always mentioned the company's name, so I asked Mrs. Peterson at the bakery where it was. She told me how to get there by bus. And you weren't scared to go alone? A little, Oliver admitted. But then I remembered what my dad always says. When you're doing the right thing, you shouldn't be afraid. Daniel looked at his son with pride. And you were sure you were doing the right thing? I was, Dad. Our family needed help and I could help, so it was the right thing to do. William knelt beside the bed. Oliver, you taught me that sometimes the simplest solutions are the best, and that courage has no age limit. That's true. My teacher always says it doesn't matter if we're small or big. What matters is the size of our heart. A nurse entered the room to check Daniel's vitals. How are you feeling today, Mr. Thompson? She asked with a smile. Better than I have in weeks, Daniel replied, and it was true. Though still ill, there was a light in his eyes that hadn't been there before. Dad, after your surgery and you get better, can we go play ball in the park again? Oliver asked. Of course, champ. In fact, I'll have more time to play with you since I'll have a steady job again. And Mom will have more time too because she won't have to work at different houses anymore. Jennifer walked over to the bed and kissed her husband's forehead. Daniel, I still can't believe all this is happening. Yesterday I was desperate and today everything changed, Daniel finished. Thanks to our brave boy. William glanced at his wristwatch. Daniel, I'm afraid I have to go. I have some things to take care of at the company, but I'll come back tomorrow to see how you're doing. William, thank you for everything. No, Daniel, thank you. The three of you reminded me of who I really want to be. Oliver ran to William and hugged him again. Mr. Shepherd, do you want me to draw something special for you? How about you draw what you imagine our company will look like in the future, with all the happy families working there? Great idea. I'll make it the most beautiful drawing I've ever done. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. The following Monday, Jennifer arrived at the company promptly at 8 in the morning. She was nervous but wore her best clothes and carried a simple folder with some documents. William was waiting for her at reception personally, which surprised the employees. It was unusual to see the boss greeting a new hire himself. Good morning, Jennifer. How are you feeling? Nervous but excited, she admitted. Oliver woke me up at 6 because he was so eager for me to start working here. Is he doing all right? He's great. He can't wait to come by after school to see how I'm settling in. William took her to meet the administrative department, where she'd be working. Everyone, this is Jennifer Thompson. She'll be joining our team. William introduced her to the colleagues. A woman around 50 named Karen approached with a warm smile. Welcome, Jennifer. I'm Karen, the department supervisor. I'll help you get settled. Thank you. I'm eager to learn. William left Jennifer with Karen and headed to his office. He had an important meeting with the entire HR team to discuss the changes he wanted to implement in the company. By 9, the meeting room was full. William walked in carrying the drawing Oliver had given him, now framed. Everyone, this meeting is about a major shift in direction for our company, he began, placing the drawing on the table for all to see. This drawing was made by a 7-year-old who taught me more about business management in one afternoon than all the courses I've ever taken. The employees exchanged curious glances. We're going to implement a comprehensive family support program for our staff. I want our company to be known not just for the quality of our work, but for how we take care of the people who work with us. Karen, the supervisor who was looking after Jennifer, raised her hand. What kind of support, Mr. William? Several things. First, we'll extend our health plan to include every employee's entire family at no additional cost. Second, we'll create an emergency fund to help employees facing unexpected medical or financial hardships. The murmurs in the room were pleasantly surprised. Third, William continued, we'll create an educational program for employees' children, a place where they can go after school to do homework, get tutoring, and participate in educational activities. And how will this be funded? Asked the financial director, Richard. Excellent question, Richard. We'll reassess our spending and priorities. I believe investing in people will bring far greater returns than any other investment we could make. Rebecca, William's secretary, was taking notes. Mr. William, when do you plan to implement these changes? Immediately. I want these new benefits up and running by the end of this week. That's ambitious, said Richard. Richard, do you know why I started this company 20 years ago? To succeed in business? No. I started this company because I wanted to build something that made a difference in people's lives. Over the years, I lost sight of that. Now it's time to return to the original purpose. Karen raised her hand again. Can I make a suggestion? Of course. The new employee, Jennifer, told me a bit of her story. Maybe she could help coordinate the family support program. Who better than someone who's faced hardships to understand others' needs? William smiled. It was a great idea. Perfect suggestion, Karen. I'll talk to Jennifer about it. After the meeting, William went to the administrative department to find Jennifer. She was focused, learning the company's filing system. "How's your first day going?" "Great. Karen is very patient, and everyone has been so kind to me." "Jennifer, can I make you an offer?" "Of course. We're creating a support program for employees' families. Would you like to help coordinate it?" Jennifer stopped what she was doing and looked at him. "Me? But I just started here." "Exactly. You know what it's like to be on the other side needing help. That gives you a unique perspective. But I don't have experience coordinating programs." "Experience comes with time. What you have is more important: empathy and understanding." Jennifer thought for a moment. "If you think I can help, I accept. It would be an honor to contribute so other families don't go through what we did." "Great. Let's start by identifying which employees might be facing similar hardships to what you experienced." That afternoon, as promised, Oliver showed up at the company after school. Mrs. Peterson at reception was already waiting for him. "Hi, Oliver. Your mum is upstairs on the 5th floor. Can I go up?" "Of course, dear. She's eager to see you." Oliver took the elevator and found his mother in the administrative department, settled at her own desk with a nameplate that read, "Jennifer Thompson Family Support Program." "Mom, you have your own desk now." "I sure do, sweetheart, and look," she pointed to the nameplate, "I'll be coordinating a very important program." "What program?" "A program to help employees' families when they're in need." Oliver thought for a moment. "Like how Mr. William helped our family." "Exactly. We'll help other families avoid what we went through." "That's so cool. Can I help too?" Karen, who was nearby, overheard the conversation. "Oliver, how about you being our junior consultant? You can give us ideas on how to make the program even better." "Really? I can be a consultant?" "Of course. After all, you're the one who inspired all this." Oliver got so excited he started jumping. "Mom, can I tell my friends at school that I work at a big company?" "Yes, you can, sweetheart. But remember, your main job is still studying." "I know, but it's so cool to be able to help other families too." William walked into the department just then. "Oliver, how was school today?" "It was great. I told Ms. Winters all about what happened, and she said you're a very special man." "Your teacher said that?" "She did. And she also said you could come to school someday to talk to the kids about work and businesses." William was surprised by the invitation. "And would you like me to go?" "That would be amazing. All my friends would be so impressed." "Then I'll go. Set it up with your teacher." Jennifer looked at her son with pride. "Oliver, have you finished your homework yet?" "Not yet, Mom." "How about doing it here? Did you bring your notebooks?" "Yes, I did." Karen walked over. "Oliver, how about using the small meeting room to do your homework? There's a big table and it's really quiet." "Can I really?" "Of course. And if you need help with anything, just ask." While Oliver did his homework in the meeting room, Jennifer and William talked about the family support program. "Jennifer, I thought of a few things we could include in the program," William said, showing her a list he'd prepared. "What kind of things?" "Emergency medical assistance, like what we did for your husband. Educational support for employees' children. Financial guidance for families struggling to make ends meet. And maybe even a training program for employees who want to grow professionally." "Those are excellent ideas. Can I suggest one more?" "Of course. How about creating a system where employees themselves can recommend co-workers who are going through tough times? Sometimes people are too ashamed to ask for help, but a close colleague might notice something's wrong." "Brilliant, you're right. Sometimes pride keeps people from seeking help when they need it." Oliver appeared at the door. "I finished my homework. Can I show you?" "Of course, sweetheart." Oliver showed them his math exercises, all correct, and an essay he'd written titled "My Most Important Day." "Can I read the essay?" William asked. "Sure." William read aloud. "My most important day was when I decided to look for a job to help my family. I was really scared, but I knew I had to try. I learned that when you do something out of love for your family, God helps you be brave. I also found out there are good people in the world, like Mr. William, who are willing to help when they see you're really trying. Now my family is happy again, And I've learned that even though I'm small, I can do big things when it's to help the people I love. When he finished reading, William had tears in his eyes. Oliver, this essay is beautiful. Can I keep a copy? Of course, I wrote it with all my heart. And you know what? I'm going to frame it here at the company, along with your drawing. Really, I'm going to be famous at the company. Jennifer laughed at her son's excitement. Oliver, it's not about being famous, it's about inspiring others. You're right, Mom. Just like Dad inspires me to work hard, and you inspire me to be kind. William looked at that family and realized they had completely changed his life. In just a few days, he'd gone from being a businessman focused only on profits to someone who truly cared about the impact of his actions on people's lives. That week, Daniel's surgery was a success. William was present at the hospital throughout the entire procedure, along with Jennifer and Oliver. When the doctor came out of the operating room with good news, Oliver was the first to celebrate. "I knew it would work, I knew it," he shouted, jumping in the hospital hallway. "Oliver, lower your voice, son. We're in a hospital," Jennifer said softly. "Sorry, Mum, but I'm just so happy." Dr. Harrison approached them. "The surgery went perfectly. Daniel will make a full recovery, but he'll need a few weeks of rest." "Doctor, when can he go back to work?" Oliver asked. The doctor smiled at the boy. "In about 2 months, if he follows the medical recommendations properly." "Oh, he will. My dad's very obedient," Oliver said confidently. When Daniel woke up from the anesthesia a few hours later, Oliver was by his bedside, holding his hand. "Dad, you did it. The surgery worked." Daniel was still a bit drowsy, but managed to smile at his son. "Of course I did, champ. I had to get better so I could play with you again. And to go back to work too. Mr. Williams said your job is safe." Daniel looked at William, who was standing on the other side of the bed. "William, how can I ever thank you for all this?" "Daniel, you don't need to thank me. In fact, I'm the one who should be thanking you." "How so?" "You gave me something I'd lost. Purpose. You reminded me why it's worth working hard and running a business." "Dad," Oliver interrupted, "now that you're okay, can I tell you something?" "Of course, son." "I was really scared that you might get really sick. Every night, I prayed to God to take care of you." Daniel felt his eyes fill with tears. "And God heard your prayers, didn't he?" "He did. But I think he used Mr. William to help." William was moved by the innocence of Oliver's remark. "Oliver, can I tell you something?" "Sure." "You were used to help too. You helped me become a better person." "Really? How?" "You showed me that courage doesn't have an age, that family is more important than money, and that sometimes the simplest solutions are the best." Oliver thought for a moment. "Mr. William, can I ask you something?" "Always." "Before you met me, were you a bad person?" William was surprised by the bluntness of the question. "Not bad, Oliver, but I'd forgotten how to be a good person." "And now you remember?" "Now I remember. Thanks to you." Oliver smiled and hugged William. "That's good, because I really like you and it'd be sad if you were a bad person." A few weeks later, when Daniel was recovering well at home, William implemented the final part of his plan. He visited Oliver's school to give a talk to the children about entrepreneurship and hard work. Teacher Elizabeth welcomed him enthusiastically. "Mr. William, it's an honor to have you here. Oliver hasn't stopped talking about you." "The pleasure is mine, teacher. Oliver told me how much you helped him with the recommendation letter. That boy is special. He has remarkable maturity for his age. It's true, he changed my life." When William entered the classroom, the children were in awe. Oliver beamed with pride. "Class, this is Mr. William, who owns a very big company," the teacher introduced. A little girl raised her hand. "Are you really rich?" William smiled. "You know, Emma, I used to think I was rich because I had a lot of money. But Oliver taught me that being truly rich means having people who care about you and being able to help others." "How so?" asked a boy. "When you help a classmate who's struggling in school, you become rich in friendship. When you obey your parents, you become rich in love." Money is important, but it's not what makes someone truly rich. Oliver raised his hand. Mr. William, can you tell them how our friendship started? Of course, Oliver. William shared with the children the story of how Oliver had gone to his company looking for work, adjusting the details for their age. The kids were fascinated by Oliver's bravery. Oliver was very courageous, William said. He didn't think of himself, he thought about helping his family. And he taught me that sometimes children can teach important lessons to adults. What kind of lessons? A little girl asked. He taught me that family is more important than work. He taught me that being honest is always the best choice. And he taught me that when we do something wrong, we can make it right. After the talk, the children asked questions and drew pictures for William. When class ended, Oliver approached him. Did you like my school? I liked it very much, and I liked even more seeing how much your classmates admire you. They're really nice, and now they think you're nice too. Oliver, can I ask you something? Always. Do you regret coming to my company that day? Oliver thought seriously before answering. No. Even if it had gone wrong, I wouldn't regret it, because I tried to help my family, and that's always the right thing to do. What if I had been rude to you? Then I'd have been sad, but I wouldn't have given up. I'd have found another way to help. William knelt to be at the boy's eye level. Oliver, you're one of the bravest people I've ever met in my life, even though I'm small. Courage doesn't have a size, Oliver, and you've proved that to me. 2 months later, Daniel returned to work at William's company. On his first day back, the whole team threw a welcome party. Daniel was moved to be back in a place where he always felt valued. It's good to be back, he told William. It's good to have you back, Daniel. We missed you. Oliver was at the party, beaming as he watched his father return to work. Daddy, now our family is complete again. You working here, Mommy working here, and me as a junior consultant. Daniel laughed. Junior consultant. Yeah, I help with Mom's program by giving ideas on how to help other families. I'm so proud of you, son. During the party, William gave a speech to all the employees. Everyone, today we're not just welcoming Daniel back. We're celebrating what our company has become. Over the past months, we've made changes that have turned this into a better place for everyone to work. There was applause. And it all started with the courage of a 7-year-old boy who decided to fight for his family. Oliver taught us that when we truly care for one another, everyone wins. Oliver turned red with embarrassment but was clearly proud. That's why, William continued, I'm announcing the creation of the Oliver Thompson Courage Award, which will be given annually to employees who show exceptional bravery in helping their colleagues or families. Oliver's jaw dropped. An award with my name? That's right. So everyone who works here remembers that courage and kindness are the most important values. After the party, Oliver, his parents, and William stayed talking in the office. Mr. William, can I ask you one last question? Oliver said. Of course. Are you happy now? William looked at the family that had changed his life and smiled. You know, Oliver, I thought I was happy before, but now I know what real happiness is. What is it? It's knowing that what you do makes a difference in people's lives. It's having true friends. It's being able to sleep peacefully, knowing you did the right thing. Just like how I feel, Oliver said. How so? I feel happy because I helped my family. Even though I'm small, I managed to do something important. Daniel placed his hand on his son's shoulder. Oliver, you're not small. You're giant in what matters most, in your heart. Jennifer stepped closer and hugged her son. My brave boy. William looked at the scene and realized that this was his family now too. Not biologically, but in the sense that they truly cared for one another. Oliver, he said, can I tell you a secret? Sure. You didn't just change my life. You changed the lives of everyone at this company. Because of your courage, families are happier now. Children can study better, and people know they're not alone when they need help. Really? I did all that? You sure did. And do you know why? Why? Because you had the courage to try. Even though you're small, even though you were scared, you tried. And sometimes, that's all we need to do. Try. Oliver smiled in the purest way William had ever seen. Mr. William, can I ask you one last thing? Of course. When I grow up and start working for real, can I work here at your company? William laughed. Oliver, by the time you grow up, I'm sure you'll have your own company, and it'll be even better than mine. You really think so? I'm certain. And do you know why? Why? Because you already understand what's most important. Taking care of people. Oliver thought for a moment. Then, when I have my own company, I'll do just what you're doing now. I'll take good care of all the families who work with me. And if you ever forget, just remember this day. I'll never forget, Oliver said firmly. This was the most important day of my life. And mine too, William replied. As the sun set through the office windows, this makeshift family stayed there, celebrating not just Daniel's return to work, but the transformation of all their lives. Oliver had started this journey just wanting to help his family, but he ended up creating a new extended family and changing the heart of a man who had forgotten what it meant to be truly human. And so, a 7-year-old proved that sometimes the biggest changes begin with the smallest gestures, and that courage has no age when it comes to love for family. End of story. Now tell us what you thought of this story and where you're following us from. Do you believe Oliver made the right decision by going out alone to look for work? Share your honest thoughts in the comments. What moved you the most in this story? We love reading your opinions and experiences.